Altijd, and I will be your host for this session. I'm a lead Power BI consultant at Sogeti, mostly occupied with Power BI. And tonight I will be your host and moderator for this session. So I will make sure that we stick to the timeline and we don't do anything out of the program. So that is that. You can ask questions if you have them, but please put them in the chat. Otherwise, at the end of the presentation, we have some time for real questions to our guest speaker for tonight. And tonight we have a guest speaker, and it is my dear colleague Laura. And Laura is one of our BI specialists, and she has a focus on Power BI. She originally has a background in geography, and from there on, she rolled right into the field of data. She's currently active at one of the largest financial services companies in the Netherlands, where she's active as a Power BI administrator and also consulting on new Power BI innovations. And of that latter category, we have a few this session. You may or may not have heard about something called Fabric. Well, anyway, Laura will tell you everything about it tonight. So, welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Are you as excited for this as I am?
I am super excited.
All right.
I hope I can tell everyone as much as I can about Fabric, because it is quite a big release. So shall I share my screen and get started?
Yeah, sure. The floor is all yours.
Super. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, Dan, usually you do these sessions, but now I'm excited to give it a go, especially this quarter, since a lot has happened in the Power BI landscape. So here's what I'm going to talk about this evening. First, a short intro about what the idea is and how this presentation is set up. Then I will focus on the most important news and updates in the Power BI landscape. I will do some demos, one in Power BI Desktop with a selection of Power BI Desktop updates, and one in the service to introduce some of the Fabric functionalities, because there is just too many to do in one session. And then we'll end up with a short roundup with questions that you can post in the chat. So firstly, what is this session about? Shortly, as you may know, Microsoft launches monthly updates for the Power BI service and for Power BI Desktop. And these updates are posted each month in a blog post. Well, this is quite an extensive blog post, and especially in this quarter. There's been a lot of features and a lot of content related released each month. And well, some of them are not even relevant for most of the Power BI users. And the idea of this session is that we go through the most relevant of these, and that I, of course, demo some of the most interesting features. And for this session, we have April, May, and June, but I will also talk a little bit about the Microsoft Build session of last, I think, April, which includes, although the biggest change of the Power BI landscape, probably since the launch of Power BI, as Microsoft introduces Fabric. And what this means, I will try to shortly discuss, but it's a lot. Okay, so who's this session for? These are the levels of proficiency for Power BI. And what we're covering today is mostly level 2 and 300. There are some features that can be considered quite challenging, especially since all the features released in May are really targeted at enterprise teams and teams that are, for instance, already working with Power BI Premium. To be honest, I also find it a little bit challenging, but it was super fun to learn about all these new things. And I hope that by the end of this session, you have also learned many new things. Let's see. Okay. So usually the updates are related to a few focus areas. Let me quickly tell what these focus areas are. So reporting relates to all the new features in Power BI Desktop. features that are important when creating data models and when creating your awesome reports. We have data connectivity features, which relate to all the new features about connecting to your data, and features related to the integration with other Microsoft products. We have the service updates, all new features in the Power BI cloud environment where you publish and share and collaborate on your Power BI content. The mobile updates is updates related to the Power BI app that you can install on your mobile device. Updates related to embedded analytics, and those are for all the that are related to the integration of your Power BI content in, for instance, other applications and portals. We also have developer updates, specifically aimed at developers who are using code and APIs and CI/CD and who can develop custom visuals. And of course, the visualization focus area. And that's usually about Microsoft or third-party custom visuals that can be found in the App Source store in Power BI Desktop. And of course, there is the other category. And the other category is everything that doesn't fall under the above categories. And let's just start right off with that. Because, yeah, the focus area of this session is usually reporting and Power BI service features. And I'm going to present some of that stuff a bit later. Only this time I will start with the other category because we need to discuss an important development that you may have all heard about. In this April's build sessions, Microsoft has rebranded Power BI as part of Fabric. And Fabric is presented as one integrated analytics platform offering various engineering and analytics services that you can also find in Azure. And all of these new Fabric features can be found in the familiar interface in the Power BI service. Yeah, so you may know that there's a lot of content published everywhere, LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere. And I think everyone in the field has something to say about Fabric. And I'm going to try to explain the key things that you need to know in a few slides before we can continue, because many of the updates that I'm going to present are either related to Fabric or are Fabric updates. And I hope to answer some of the important questions like, yeah, what is Fabric? Why is it important? And is it really a replacement for Power BI? And yeah, should we already, order new t-shirts? Important questions. Okay, so Microsoft Fabric. There's 3 takeaways that I want to share with you when you start with Fabric. One, it's a complete analytics platform with one unified interface, so that developers and users can all use one single product, and that's Microsoft Fabric. So in most BI architectures, you have different products from different platforms and vendors, and this poses quite some challenges when you want to integrate all these different products. And with Fabric, the developer and the user now have one platform to develop and consume data solutions, and it's all in the familiar Power BI interface. Fabric is then one data platform with several different workloads, and you can see that Power BI is only one of the 7 workloads. The other workloads are Data Factory for your ETL and orchestration workloads. You have Synapse Data Engineering. You have Synapse Data Science for workloads to build and deploy and train your AI models. You have Synapse Data Warehousing. That's to create warehouses and analytics lakehouses directly in Fabric with the familiar SQL experience. You also have Synapse Real-Time Analytics for workloads that process streaming data. And what is coming soon is also Data Activator. And Data Activator is to detect, automatically detect changes in your data and you can set alerts and actions on that based on the changes in your data. So the second important thing to know is that there is a OneLake as a central location for all data storage. So underpinning all these workloads, you have this OneLake. And that OneLake is sort of the data lake for the whole tenant that is offered as a SaaS service. And in that OneLake, you will find one copy of the data in a Delta Parquet format. And all the engines behind the different workloads can work with this format. So yeah, one of the challenges of conventional BI architecture is you have to copy and duplicate your data in order for other engines to work with it. An example, for instance, if you want to import your SQL tables in Power BI, you're essentially creating two versions of your data, one in Power BI and one in SQL. And working with the OneLake resolves that data duplication issue with having all that data in the same Delta Parquet format, and that one version of your data that can be used in Data Factory, in Power BI, in SQL, and all the other workloads without the need to copy it to be used by another engine. So this means that in Fabric, essentially, you don't have to import your data in Power BI Desktop anymore, which is really cool. And the other thing about the OneLake is that you can also secure that one version of your data with something called OneSecurity. This is an upcoming feature. I don't know what that OneSecurity is at this stage, but in the upcoming months, we will find out what it is. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is that all of this is powered by AI. And what it means is that Fabric will be integrated with Azure OpenAI service, and which will make it possible to be assisted by an AI-driven copilot for every data action that you want to do on the platform. Currently also not rolled out yet, but if we can believe it, it will be possible to use natural language to create reports and data flows and data pipelines and author code with the copilot. So yeah, pretty exciting. Okay, so what's new? Well, if Power BI is the only experience that you have, then a lot of things are going to be new in Fabric. For BI developers, for instance, who are using Azure Data Factory or SQL or Synapse or other Azure Analytics or engineering services, you will recognize a lot, and you will see many benefits, I think, since it's one platform containing all your workloads with one location to store all your data and one permission model. Do consider that a lot of these services may be a light version in comparison to the Azure services that you're already using. And well, be sure to check the limitations before you start to recreate your existing solutions in Fabric. Also, a lot of the features presented at the build session need to be rolled out, like the data activator and the copilot. And the features now are in preview, but I expect that in the upcoming months, a lot of things will become GA. Also important to know, the usual Power BI experience, so to say, continues to exist for pro users. So Power BI remains Power BI as it is. And there's only one thing that is different at this point, is that Fabric will basically replace Power BI Premium per capacity. So if Fabric is enabled for your organization, a Fabric capacity needs to be set up to use the Fabric functionalities, as is the case with Power BI Premium. Yeah, so that's, I think, all you have to know at this stage. In the end of this session, I will end with a demo with some of the Fabric functionality. But yeah, it's a lot to show. So I'm focusing on the data warehousing functionality. And I advise everyone to start playing around with it. You get a free Fabric trial period of 60 days if your organization allows it. You can also set up your own tenant, and then you can use this free trial period, I think, indefinitely. And be sure to also look at the new learning paths. You can get started with Fabric. Get started with Fabric is a new learning path on learn.microsoft. And it covers all the workloads, and it includes exercises and everything. So it's pretty cool. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's go quickly to the updates for Power BI. I'm just going to go through them quickly because, yeah, we all want to start seeing demos, right? Yeah, firstly, data connectivity updates. Well, you can see some of the new connectors, some third-party connectors, but what I want to show you is the Fabric connectors that you can use now from Power BI Desktop. So this is your Analytics Lakehouse, your KQL or KQL database, and your Fabric warehouse. So essentially, I'm not sure about the KQL databases, but connecting to a lakehouse or a warehouse in Fabric is really no different experience than connecting to a Power BI data set. Because there's already modeling, or there's also modeling capabilities in your lakehouse and your warehouse, you can establish a connection to an existing model in the Fabric item that you are connecting to. Yeah, and I come from a SQL data warehouse experience in Azure. For me, it is a quick way to get some quick insights about your data warehouse data, what data is in there, what trends are there. And I don't even need to write SQL with it. I can just, use the dragging and dropping experience in Power BI, and connecting directly to my Fabric data warehouse. So that's quite cool. Let's proceed with the service updates. What I wanted to show you was the rebranding of the Data Hub as the OneLake Data Hub now. So I've talked about the OneLake as the one central location for all your data, and the OneLake Data Hub serves as the interface, so to say, to view all these data artifacts in the OneLake. And this view contains information on all your data items that you have access to, including data sets, but also to the new warehouses, the lakehouses, the SQL endpoints, and the KQL warehouses. And you can also search the items by the workspace in the Explorer pane. That's, I think, the most logical setup. I also want to show you the monitoring hub. So many items are introduced on the Fabric platform. Previously, data transformations occurred with data sets, data flows, data marts. Now you also have lakehouses and pipelines and Spark jobs and everything added to the list. And with this new monitoring hub that you can find in the Power BI service, you can see how and where and when these items are refreshed, whether they have succeeded, how often these items have been refreshed, and how long these refreshes take. And there's also additional information like sensitivity labels and endorsement categories. So in one overview, you basically see everything about your data transformation workloads. Even kijken hoor. I'm going to also show you the edit your data model in the Power BI service. So this feature, it needs to be enabled, disclaimer, by your Power BI admin on the tenant level. Additionally, your workspace admin also needs to specifically enable this feature in the workspace settings. And then as a user, you would need at least the contributor role or on the workspace or the build permission on the specific data set. If all that is in place, then you can experience the model view as you do in Power BI Desktop. So In this Power BI service, you can then model your data, add your DAX, even create and define row-level security roles. And you can switch very easily between your report view and your model view. So that is quite a feature that I will be using. And from what I can tell, there have been a lot of improvements made since this has been made a public preview. And there will be more updates in July on this, so it's quite an interesting development. Yeah, for the sake of time, yeah, there's also DLP policies that security admins can now implement in Microsoft Purview, and basically, yeah, you can set up rules. Data sets can be scanned according to these rules. And if someone has published something that contains sensitive information that is defined by those rules, the user gets an alert. So it is easier for the user to make their content compliant, and to also for the security admins to monitor what is actually being shared on the tenant. Okay. There are some mobile updates. I'm not gonna, for the sake of time, I'm not gonna go through them, but I advise to, if you use Power BI on your mobile device, to look at these two updates. Maybe quite interesting for you. Also for embedded analytics, for now, you can easily get started with Power BI embedded in minutes. There's a demo in which you can sort of check how your embedded report would look like in your application. You can also create reports directly in Jupyter Notebook, so you don't have to export or import any data. So everyone using that will probably find this a very attractive feature. Then for the developer updates, what I'm super excited about and what I actually want to show you, but I don't know if I have the time for it, is the Power BI desktop developer mode. And the developer mode consists basically of two things. It is now possible to save your Power BI, PBIX files as Power BI projects. And how that works is by saving it as a Power BI project file, you create definition files that are saved locally in a specific folder structure. And then you can use that files for your Git integration or your with Azure DevOps or with deployment pipelines. So by pushing those changes from a local repository in GitHub, you can now actually finally have version control and collaboration with your Power BI projects now. And previously, it was very difficult to achieve and basically impossible when working simultaneously in Power BI Desktop on the same report. And you can also integrate your Fabric workspaces to be synced to your repository in GitHub and Azure DevOps. So the committed changes can now be synced directly with the content in the Power BI service. And yeah, I find that really, really awesome. And I hope to show you some of it. This is what it looks like. You can, oh, sorry. Oops. This is what it looks like. You can sync your workspace with the repository, and yeah, and then you can, what you do in the Power BI service, you can commit those changes and then make a pull request, and the Power BI project file is automatically updated. So pretty cool. Visualizations, well, it's a lot this month or this quarter, but I advise you to check out the editor's pick of the quarters. I think the Zebra BI cards was looking quite interesting. But if you're interested, check them out. Because we are going to, yep, reporting. So reporting, These relate to all the new features to improve your data model and the new features to improve your amazing reports. Let's first quick update about the DAX expressions that are new or updated. We have the order by function that now accepts any DAX expression as the first parameter. Previously, it only accepted a column name. There are two more DAX functions, the rank and the row number, to make it a lot easier to make rankings of your rows. And you have a match by, which is a new DAX function that can be used in window functions. And it's used to determine how to match data and identify the current row based on the match by input columns. Be sure to check out the blog posts of May and April, because there you can find a full explanation with examples of how these functions work. And then reporting. I'm going to present the yellow ones more because of due to time. I'm going to present on-object interaction. I think, Dan, you've presented it before, but we're just going to enable it during my whole demo. So, fingers crossed. There have been quite some improvements, and there will also be more coming in July. So I think it's safe to say that Microsoft is really betting on this horse and that we should all get used to this on-object interaction when building reports. I'm also going to tell you a bit about composite models for Power BI dataset and analysis service models. This is a functionality that is now generally available. And essentially, you can now use direct query to include tables from an existing data set in your local model. And I will show you what that means and how you can easily create a composite model using this feature. There's also been some updates on the quick measure suggestions, and it's mostly rebranding it as the Copilot in Power BI Desktop. And what it does, I will show you how to use natural language to alter DAX using this Copilot feature. I'm a geographer, so I have to tell something about Azure Maps. Azure Maps is now generally available, and every report containing a mapping visual in this stage will show a prompt when opening the report to convert it to Azure Maps. And I think they will deprecate the other mapping visuals in the next year. I will show you the Azure Map. I will also show you the difference between the Azure Map and the Bing Map visual, so you can see how the design looks like. We also have the new card visual. New card visual is basically a combination between the usual card and the multi-row card visual. The card visual is the most used visual in a lot of reports. I use it a lot as well, but I find it quite a hassle sometimes to format every card to look similar and to arrange it on my canvas. And the new card visual is basically a container for all cards included, and you can easily format them and customize them to your liking. And there is a lot of designing functionality in there. I will show that in a bit. And I will also show the optimize ribbon in Power BI Desktop, which is now generally available. So you can now assess and control the queries that are sent to your source in this optimization ribbon, and you can do some performance checks on those queries. Okay, so this is my presentation. Of course, I will also demo Fabric, but that will come after the Power BI Desktop update. So I will go to Power BI Desktop now. Okay. So first, composite modeling. What I have here is some imported data. The data that I've imported are basically the ratings of my customer, how they rate my service. So what I've done here is, let's see. This is how what my data looks like. These are my ratings. And I know that I have in the Power BI service a data set containing my sales figures. And I actually want to combine my rating insights with my sales figures. And what I can do is I can connect directly to a Power BI data set. And this is the data set that I'm looking for. I'm going to connect. Yeah, and I'm going to select every table that I have in my sales reporting data set. So my city dimension, my customer, my date, and my fact table. And as you can see, it creates a direct query connection to this data set. If I go to my model view, okay, cool. There is it. So, okay. So as you can see, this is how my data is modeled in my data set. And I can basically combine my imported data now with the data that is already available in this data set. So I don't need to import anything anymore. This feature previously, it was if you had one direct query connection, you couldn't import additional tables. And now I can just, make a composite model, as you can call, as they call it, based on my imported ratings and the direct query connection to my sales figures. And I'm gonna create a relationship now between my customer ID, which is the common what do you call it, identifier. Cardinality is 101. And now I can enrich my report with, for instance, my profit. Sort that and I can, for instance, add profit over here. Yeah. And over here. So I can really combine like insights of two, this doesn't really, yeah, look at that. I can combine insights basically of, two sources of a different storage group. And yeah, I think it's a pretty useful feature, especially since it allows for a lot more self-service capabilities in Power BI. So very cool. Now I'm going to do something risky. I'm going to use the Copilot, and I'm going to use natural language to write my DAX. So I'm going to go to the quick measure pane. Do know that the suggestions with Copilot needs to be specifically enabled by your tenant. I'm on my test tenant. I've enabled this, so I can give this a go. And what do I want to know? I want to see the sum of profit, for instance, where, yeah, for all my customers who have not really rated me very well. So where the rating is less than 6. Let's see what it does. Okay. So I have here my preview value. So apparently my Copilot says that for all the customers who have given me a rating of lower than 6, this is basically the profit that I'm getting. This is the DAX. To be honest, I'm not very good at DAX, so I would believe this, but I do need to check whether this is true. So let's add it to my data model. I'm going to go here to, here is my measure. I'm going to call it profit of onvoldoende. Okay, I've added it now to my data model. And let's just drag the field in here to check if this is correct. Yeah. So let's just sort this. Yeah, and as you can see, I see all the profits from all the customers who have given me an onvoldoende or a rating lower than 6. And that might be a useful insight if I want to see, where I can improve my ratings and if that really leads to an increase in profit. And yeah, very cool. Azure Maps. So I've already prepared this because I thought it does take quite some time to get this all right. What I wanted to show you is basically the difference between the two visuals. And as you can see, what I have here is all the locations of all the customers that have rated me. And the bubble size is the average rating they are giving me. And the bubble size is basically where they've given me a lower rating. The bubble size is red and is bigger. And yeah, you can see this actually looks quite clean. I can do a lot more, of course, with it. There's a lot of other functionalities that you can add. Let me check where more options. You can, for instance, create heat maps. You can create 3D columns. You can import your basically your own reference layer as a JSON file. You can use traffic, the traffic layer to show live traffic on a map. So there's a lot of things you can do basically. And it is, for the functionality and the design, it is quite an improvement. The only thing that I find a bit of a downside is that it takes a bit longer to render all the data points in Azure Maps compared to the Bing Maps visual. But other than that, it looks quite clean and pretty good design. Okay. Want to go to the new card visual? Prepared that a little bit in advance because of time. And as you can see, these are the traditional card visuals and my profit and my sales customer count and my product quantity. Yeah, as you can see, I can, for instance, I can do this, but the moment that I deviate the moment that I deviate in one card, it sort of all it gets a bit messy. And also arranging them, I found that sometimes a lot of work. And with the new card visual, it's, like I said, basically a combination between the multi-row card and the card visual. You can arrange all your cards in one container, like, for instance, the multi-row card, but you still have the possibility to customize your individual cards. So, for instance, if I hover over this, I can make that I can make a tooltip appear. I can also import images. I can import themes. As you can see, the design features are pretty awesome. So it really looks like a very new experience, and I think I'm going to use this quite a lot. It is in preview at this stage, but I believe it's enabled by default over here under your preview features. Even kijken. Yeah, this is enabled by default. So I advise you to all use it. Looks nice. And then the optimize ribbon. So let's go over here. So what you can do, you can, with the optimize ribbon, you can reduce the number of queries that are sent to your source, and that may be a bit useful. So I can, for instance, pause these visual interactions. Oh, here. Oh. Yeah. So if I, for instance, do this, my visuals won't immediately interact. But let's say I've had some multiple selections chosen, and I can, for instance, apply this all in one go. So I'm just sending one query. And I can also, with one click, clear all my slicer selections, which is something I've been creating buttons for this to have this behavior. And now you can easily, where is it? Insert. No. And apply all slicers and a clear all slicers button. So I'm very happy with that. Saves me a lot of time. You can also refresh visuals in case, for instance, a dataset change has occurred and you want to refresh the visuals so that it gets the latest data. There's also some optimization presets. Yeah, I advise you to look at them. And of course, the performance analyzer, which we all know, to analyze your report elements. Yeah. So these are all the things that I wanted to show in Power BI Desktop. And now, I think for the sake of time, I wanted to show you a little bit about Git. I wanted to change this formatting of this field in the data set that I'm using. But for the sake of time, I first am going to go to my Fabric demo. And if we have a little bit of time left, I can show you how to use Git in combination with a Power BI project to make changes to your Power BI project. But let's first just go now to a workspace that I've set up. So second part, Fabric. Let me first show you this. So I'm on my workspace now, but as you can see, I can go from the Power BI experience to, for instance, my data factory experience. And I can also go to my data warehousing experience. So I can, for instance, build a new warehouse or import, well, not import, but deploy for a warehouse sample. Yeah, this is really the new experience when you're using Fabric. If Fabric is not enabled either as a trial as a trial period or at all in the tenant settings, then you won't see this. Then you only have the Power BI experience as you know it. Let's go back to my workspace. So you see over here this diamond that was previously the premium icon. Now it indicates that you have a workspace that is linked to a Fabric capacity so that you can use all the Fabric functionalities that are available. So I've already created my warehouse, and I've created my warehouse with, well, a combination of things. I've loaded my customer data and my dates with a pipeline. I think I've also used the data flow. And there was also a sample available at blob storage. And I have created tables based on this sample, and this sample was provided by Microsoft. So let me go to my warehouse, and yeah, it is all in preview, of course. So sometimes I do find bugs, and sometimes I also not very I have to wait a little bit for things to be loaded, but you know, you have some time. Yeah. Yeah. So for everyone familiar with SQL, this will probably look familiar to you. So you have the same SQL experience really as you would have with SQL Server or Azure SQL, and yeah, you can have stored procedures. You can query your data. You can have views and everything. So the whole SQL experience is there. What I wanted to show you is you see that I've created the same tables as that I had in my sales reporting data set. So what I, for instance, can do is in this new setup, I can write a SQL query, and I'm creating some sort of sales report for the state of California. So I will run this, and then I get, of course, my results. And what I like about this is that I can visualize the results. I have to select everything, by the way. Oh, I can visualize my results or save my results as a table, save it as a view, very in a clickable way, so to say. And if I, for instance, visualize my results, then I directly come in my PowerBI experience, so to say. And yeah, I can continue building reports here. So let's, for instance, do this, and then the sum of profit by city. Yeah. The funny thing is that I tried Azure Maps, and that didn't work. Maybe because I'm live connecting to a Fabric warehouse. I hope that this will be resolved, but for now, let's just do this, for instance, and then country, and then the profit. Yep, a little bigger, and then I can save this as a report, which is pretty cool. I thought, yeah, that I can create reports basically based on a SQL, a SQL query that I've created. And if I save this as a report, another data set will be created on my workspace. And then, for instance, other users can also build reports based on my SQL query. So quite interesting. What I also wanted to show you is if I'm not really familiar with SQL, but I'm more or less familiar with Power BI and Power Query, then I can also create a visual query. And I think that people will recognize this experience if you've already used data flows. What I can basically do is I can make a visual query. So I've selected my, if you can look at what I'm doing here, I've basically created the same query, but then visually. So I've taken my fact table, I've taken my dimension table, and I'm creating an inner join based on a common field, which is the city key field. It's a bit of time. Takes a bit longer. Demo time. Okay. Okay, let's try if this works. Yeah, okay. Don't know why it works now. But I basically created the same sales report for California. And I can also visualize these results, of course. And I think, yeah, you can do this, view the SQL. What else can you do? Well, I think that there's also a way to see the Power Query experience, really, that we're used to. Maybe it's here. No, I'm not really sure. But you can also see this experience in the Power Query experience that you usually have in Power BI Desktop as well. What's also interesting in my data warehouse, I have my modeling capabilities. So I can create new measures here. I can model my data. I can do everything that I can do in Power BI Desktop, basically. So I have everything in one data warehouse. I can populate my data warehouse with my source data that I'm retrieving with my pipelines. I can schedule those pipelines to daily or something, and then I can create Power BI reports based on the latest status of the data that's in my data warehouse, which is quite cool, of course. I can also, create something that's called a shortcut. So I can refer to data in for instance, my lakehouse, and combine that with my data warehouse data. And a shortcut is really, it's nothing more than what it says, a shortcut, a reference to other data in, for instance, a lakehouse, which is quite cool as well. Yeah, what else is there to show? Even kijken. Oh yeah. So I can automatically update my data set that's behind this. So each time my pipeline is run, it automatically updates the data set that is linked to this. There's also something about the default data sets. I haven't really gotten into that, but maybe some interesting things to check as well. Yeah, incremental refresh and everything. Yeah, there's just, it's just everything in one view. Yeah. And I think that will cover most of what I wanted to show you. And yeah, what do you think, Dan? Shall I show a bit more?
It looks nice. I'm very curious about the GitHub.
Yeah, okay. Let's go for it. Okay.
Cool.
So, even kijken hoor. I have made a direct query connection to a Power BI dataset. So my sales reporting dataset. But I see here now that, these numbers, I want to format them a little differently, but I have to deal with that in my source dataset. So, this is my source dataset containing a report layer on top of it. And the dataset, this is the data model, and this is basically the data model that I've connected, I've established a direct query connection to. So let me now format this a little bit. I'm going to go for currency, and then I'm not going to show this. Okay. So I've updated my profit field. So you can see over here now that it doesn't contain all these numbers behind the decimal symbol. And I'm gonna save this. So as you can see, I will also show you that if I save this, I can save this now as a PBIX. So the regular Power BI desktop file, Power BI template file, and the PowerBI project file. I've already saved it. I can also, for instance, if you have enabled it, you can upload this directly to OneDrive. That's also a feature that you can specifically enable over here. So you can directly save your PowerBI content to OneDrive and SharePoint. Also a good feature that has come out this month. But I've saved this now. Then I'm going to Studio. I'm going to give it a message update, profit, yield, format. I'm going to commit and push this to my repository, and my repository is in Azure DevOps. I'm new to Azure DevOps, so best practices in how to set up your repository. I don't know them yet, but that's for the sake of this demo. Show you. I've just committed my update, and what you can see over here is that with a PowerBI project, I've created some definition files. These files don't contain data, it just contains the definitions of your PowerBI project. And then I'm going to go to the workspace that I've synced this repository with. Okay, and that was this one. Yeah. Yeah. And I've got a notification that there are 2 changes, which is true. There is a change in my data set, and there's also a change in my report. So I'm going to update this. I'm going to update the report, and I'm going to update my data set. Yeah. Now it's synced. Just to be sure, I'm going to refresh my data set as well. And just so you remember, this is the data set that I'm using in PowerBI Desktop to create my composite model. Syncing that, refreshing that. And if all works well, if I do refresh visuals now, then I should be able this one? No. Fingers crossed. Yep. That's it. And I know it does look like a lot of steps, but the benefit is that I can basically do all kinds of stuff in my PowerBI project. A coworker of mine can do the same or similar stuff. And we can basically merge all our changes in the same definition file. And then when we sync it with the workspace over here, we have all the changes. We have all the changes basically synced together and merged together. So you can now collaborate on your PowerBI projects. And previously this was like a drama, right? You had different versions with different updates, and you really had to communicate very well with your coworkers with if you wanted to collaborate with Power BI Desktop. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to show you as well. Yeah, I think we're there.
Oh, great. Thanks, Laura.
Okay.
Thanks for this very nice demo. We've seen a lot of cool stuff. Very great, very great. So let's just open the mics and yeah, let's take some time to answer some questions. Who has questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Is it possible to integrate with the GitHub or GitLab?
Yeah, that's
rather than.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have Azure DevOps, but you can also use GitHub as your yeah, I think you call it a Git host. Yeah. So
Okay.
everything you want to know, it's all available in the Microsoft documentation as well. So yeah, pretty excited.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for your question, Mila. Are there any other questions from other persons?
So I have a question, Dan and Laura. I've seen you generate your DAX queries, Laura. I've always also seen demos that you can generate a whole report or use Copilot to create a whole report. So what's your idea on that?
Yeah, well, that feature is presented as the next big thing. It's not rolled out yet. So Dan and me, I think we tried to find a setting, but stop trying to find it because it's in private preview, which means that organizations can I think they can sign up for the preview, so to say, to see how it works. I think automatically authoring reports is quite a challenge. I think you, as a user, you would need to define exactly what you want to see. And from my experience, some users don't know exactly what they want to see. And also, I'm very curious how they're going to set this up, because is everything going to be in a tenant, or everything going to be processed in data centers in the United States? Is the data used by the Copilot, is it going to go outside the EU? Is it going to be inside the EU? How will that work? So these are, I think, challenging questions, but I'm very curious to see what they come up with in this respect. What do you think, Dan?
Laura. Super.
Yeah. Very valid concerns, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We don't want our data to leave the EU. So
Laura, my expectation is that it's metadata driven. So I think it will be looking at the context of certain elements in the attributes you will provide. And based on that, it probably will cross-check what type of data is below. So it will profile your data, and based on that profile, it understands what kind of data it is. But that's only my idea. So
yeah. Well, let's keep an eye on the future releases.
Yes,
if I can believe it, I can create my whole data warehouse with my Copilot. So
probably let's give it a couple of years.
Yeah.
Nice. So I have another question for you then. I have a question for you then. When do you think companies should start using Fabric? Is it already mature enough?
Well, I tried within the organization I'm working for now. It is a light version, what I could tell. We are still trying to assess the scope of Fabric. We wanted to recreate our data warehouse using Fabric, but considering everything, I think we need to get like a real design. We cannot recreate our data warehouse just like that. We need to create a design first based on the functionalities that are available, because some of the functionalities that are, for instance, in Azure Data Factory are maybe not released yet or are not released or supported. These are things that we need to think about. So if you want to use Fabric, I would use Fabric now, but that would be personally to not for production workloads, because also it's in preview, but to do some small projects to get familiar with everything. What I do advise is look at the One Lake, because that is new, that is super awesome. Especially that one security, if that is in place, then you do have like a new model, a new permission model. And right now, that permission model with all these different services, it's a bit scattered. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for explaining. All right, I also see we have another question from Amila.
Basically, I'm working in a lot of microcontrollers. I'm working with most of the sensor generate data. So it's a huge amount of data actually.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I'm working for the magnetic microscope for canceling system. So when it's come to the IoT, what sort of features available with the Fabric, and how, especially like we are talking about the digital filters, those kind of stuff.
So to be honest, I haven't really looked at the I think it's the real-time analytics aspect of Fabric. I think that's where the KQL, how do we pronounce it? I don't know. The KQL database is coming into place. I haven't personally checked that, but the fact that it's available, it gives you a little bit of an idea of that, how you can use your telemetry or your Internet of Things streaming data. So there is a possibility there, but I just haven't checked it out yet.
Okay, thank you.
So Amila, are you familiar with the stream analytics?
Bit of. I'm used to program using Python, so I'm quite new to PowerBI. Actually, my background is I just finished my master in data science in UWE, West England, and I'm working as a senior firmware engineer. So I'm quite familiar with hard code using Python, C. I'm just trying to utilize my time rather than coding, use Power BI to design filters. Design a filter in the coding take you ages sometimes.
So you see in Fabric, you see those types of functionalities integrate, right? So stream analytics is integrated in there as well as part of the Synapse real-time event processing. So you can connect to Kafka streams or event hubs, whatever you like with that. So the functionality is available.
If you want to, you can set up your own tenant and start, trialing based on a test use case that you can do. So I would do that. There's also a lot of data science capabilities. You can use Spark, everything. So I'm pretty excited about Fabric, to be honest. But there's a steep learning curve, I think, for all of us. Luckily, it's not yet rolled out everywhere.
We have some time, I think. Something to do this summer.
Indeed. And the thing is that if you're doing stuff with it now, you're the early adopter, and in 5 years you're the expert, right?
That's right. Yeah, interesting. Hey, another question, Laura. Do you think Power BI Desktop will be depreciated in the near future because of Fabric?
I think so. I think so. I do think so. Yeah. The challenges that I've seen in the field is, you're basically duplicating your data somewhere, and a lot of teams are not really liking that for Power BI Desktop, and I can imagine that. And this whole setup, removes Power BI Desktop from the landscape, and I think that that's a positive thing. The less data duplication, the better. Yeah. But I don't think that it's going to be deprecated soon.
No, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks. Are there any more questions for now? We have another one, Amila, or was it just the hand raise from just now?
Yeah, just now I realized my hand was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worry.
Honestly, today only I came to know about the fabric. It's quite interesting. I learned a lot of the thing. Thanks very much. I'm hope joining in future as well. This is the first time I'm joining with you.
Cool. Well, be sure to attend next time, because we do this each quarter, and each quarter we have the nicest updates about Power BI and Fabric from now on. I think
I have developed few dashboard using Power BI rather than that, because I use Tableau more than Power BI before. So I really want to learn about the Power BI. That's why I'm just transferring Power BI and the knowledge I am using the Python. I don't want to code in right now, because I'm more than 13 years coding.
I think that you have an interesting entry point now, because especially if they roll out the Copilot, I don't think that the Copilot is an answer to everything, but that Copilot will probably help you steep your learning curve in Power BI. So if that is enabled, like the Copilot that I've just shown in Power BI Desktop to generate my docs, I'm horrible at docs. So I've seen something now that I have learned of. So this Copilot thing is going to be great if you want to start learning in your Power BI journey. Yeah.
All right. I see Kenny has a question.
Yeah, Laura, regarding like I think the machine learning part that it automatically generates like DAX queries. Have you worked a lot with it? Is it still in the beginning phase, or is it already developed enough that you probably shouldn't even use DAX queries anymore and just type what you want and then it automatically generates?
Yeah, I did try that. I thought I had created a simple data model, and I thought that I have had configured all my relationships in the right way, and I thought that I was pretty specific, but still sometimes the Copilot returns a blank. Either I'm doing something wrong or it doesn't recognize what I'm doing. But I can imagine that if I'm a user who doesn't know what's in my data set, then it can be quite challenging, for instance, to use the Copilot. So we're not there.
Yeah, but it's still in the beginning, right? It just got developed like the past months, right?
I'm sorry?
It just got developed the past months, right?
Well, no, I think it's rebranded now. What I've shown you was the quick measure suggestions basically rebranded as the Power BI Desktop Copilot. But you do see Copilots everywhere, and I think in my team we also had an innovation day in which we have used the Copilot for Power Apps. Yeah. It's still in the beginning phase.
Still needs some work. Okay.
Yeah, it does need some work. Yeah.
Thank you.
So what I see, Laura and Kenny, is whenever you understand what you want to achieve, Copilot can help you out on that, right? So it's basically a Google functionality built in sometimes to understand how the calculate function is fabric, right? So usually the calculate function is the most complex function in Power BI, and from that perspective, I think it's a convenient tool to understand the syntax.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Nice to learn DAX.
Well, nice. I don't know if it's nice.
It's a way. It's a way. All right. For the last time, are there any other questions? Because if not, then I would suggest we wrap the session up for tonight. So going once, going twice. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. In the meanwhile, I'm trying to get my presentation back on the screen. So please bear with me and give me a second, because what I want to show you, first of all, yeah, there we go. Again, first of all, thank you again, Laura, for this great session. It was very nice. Please be so kind to fill out our form for us, so we know how to improve next session, or if you have any ideas or recommendations or anything like that, just put it in the form. The link is in the chat, so you can directly open it from that. Having said that, let's take a look at the session that are still ahead of us. All right, so we have one more session before our summer break. You see, it's the Sustainable Agile Laundrette, and it is, as the title already mentions, about working agile. And agile is all about creating value, but how can you leverage that? And working agile does not automatically help companies at any time. Sometimes, when poorly set up, it can even slow companies down. So during this session, Agile coach Martin Veldhuis will explain the concept of the Sustainable Agile Laundrette as an answer to these challenges. So be sure not to miss that. And also after the summer, we're back. And first of all, we're back with more Power BI. And in that session, we will compare data sets, data flows, data marts, and well, maybe a little bit more as you heard of tonight. So please make sure you'll be there.
If data marts will still be there.
Exactly, yeah. We had some discussion about that. Is there still room for data marts in the near future? But yeah, we will elaborate and philosoph on that a little bit more. All right, so that wraps it up for tonight. Thank you for joining again. Thank you, Laura, and let's stay connected. You can find us over here, and I hope to see you at one of our next sessions. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye. Nice evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.